Hello, friends. I pray that you're all doing well on this Monday as we begin another week of quarantine life. This is week 8, I believe, but we are seeing some signs of progress, I think. There's some talk of beginning to flatten the curve. Some businesses are beginning to open up again here in Greenville. Hayward Mall opened up this past Friday, although I'm not necessarily going to go be among that many people without a mask, certainly. But even today, here in Greenville, outdoor dining opened up again for certain restaurants. These are signs of hope and progress, but that does not mean that we are out of the woods just yet. So please continue to stay safe and healthy. Continue to seek the best recommendations from the CDC and other medical experts as you determine how you're going to live your life. Continue to observe social distancing for the time being. And the fear, of course, is that we would slip back into our normal mode without even thinking about it, and we could risk another spike. If you're able to get back to work, congratulations, but please, please, please take care of yourself. If nothing else, don't do it for you. It's still not just about protecting yourself. It's about protecting others as well. As we've said throughout this entire time, we are in this together, and it's not over yet. We are still in this together, and hopefully always will be as we move forward. It was a beautiful weekend here in Greenville this past weekend. It actually started to get a little hot for me, but I know warming up, the temperatures and the sun coming out and shining is a beautiful thing. So yesterday, Leah and Hattie and I took a picnic lunch up to the church. We sat on the picnic tables that are right outside the gym. I know some of you have done that as well. We also took a kite with us because it was a little bit windy out there. Hattie's aunt had sent that with us, and we wanted to decorate that with her and try to use it. We were only mildly successful, understandably, in getting it up in the air. There are trees and power lines to contend with, but Hattie loved being able to run around, dragging it behind her. And even as we sat and ate and just ran around the parking lot, we remembered how much we love and miss our church family. And we know that we'll be together again soon, and as soon as we possibly can. And the safer and healthier we are, the sooner we can all come back together. The psalm for this week that comes to us during the daily lectionary readings is Psalm 100. And it says, "Make a joyful noise to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come into his presence with singing. Know that the Lord is God. It is he that made us, and we are his. We are his people and the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him. Bless his name, for the Lord is good. His steadfast love endures forever, and his faithfulness to all generations." This is a familiar psalm to many of us. It's an important psalm for us to return to time and again. We might often think of it as being used in calls to worship in the midst of congregational singing and worshiping together in the sanctuary. But even more than that, for me in this time, it is a reminder of the power of praise and thanksgiving to shape the way we see everything about our world. It is a reminder that in every circumstance, we can come into the presence of the Lord with praise and thanksgiving because we remember God's faithfulness to us even in the darkest and most challenging of times. I've been deeply moved by the many displays of thanks that have been offered to those in the medical community that are on the front lines in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. They started with songs and cheers from balconies in cities across the world that had been shut down. There were light displays on buildings that everyone could see for miles. Police cars paraded through the streets with their lights flashing and their sirens blaring as they passed the hospitals. They even shouted Thanksgiving over their intercoms. There were concerts by famous artists to say thank you and to raise money for support. Actor John Krasinski started his own news show on YouTube focused entirely on sharing good news, and it's almost been entirely from stories around the world of those who are giving of their time and energy and their expertise to make the world a better place. Here in Greenville, the F-16s flew over the hospitals, and we even got to see them from our front yard, and it was magnificent. In Atlanta, the Thunderbirds and Blue Angels put on a show, but my favorite so far is someone in Philadelphia who programmed a fleet of drones to fly through the night sky with coordinated lights and to spell out messages of love and encouragement and thanks for everyone to see. We can get really creative in our ways of offering thanks and praise. And as people of the Christian faith, we know that each person who is working on behalf of the health and safety and well-being of others is a blessing for us. And when we say thank you to them, we also say thanks to God for them. Praise and worship is what unites all people of the Christian faith. It is what forms all that we do. We start with worship, and it fuels the way we work and make the world more like the kingdom of heaven each day. It reminds us that God is God and that we are not. And in a time like this, it reminds us that God is ultimately in control, even when we feel completely out of control. It reminds us that God is good and loving and merciful. It reminds us that God is redemptive and is taking the worst thing that we could face and is using it for our good. God is using it to make us stronger, make us more faithful, to set us on a better path, maybe even to just bring us home to God. Remember to offer praise and thanks to God. No matter what you are experiencing, there are blessings all around you. If nothing else, the very nature of God is a blessing to us because God is always faithful. And as the psalmist says time and again, God's love endures forever. So find a way to make a joyful noise today. Sing a song of joy and praise. Offer a word of thanks and encouragement to someone working to make us all better. Remember that our true identity is found in the fact that we are God's children and we are all essential in God's eyes. As the psalmist says, we are like sheep. But as the Gospel of John told us yesterday in worship, Christ is the shepherd who loves the sheep and calls us by name and lays down his life for us. And because of that, wherever we are in the sheepfold of God. We can and we will enter God's courts with praise and singing because even in a time like this, there is so much to sing about. So on this day, crank the music up. Sing your songs of joy. Lift your hearts in praise, for the Lord is good. His steadfast love endures forever. Stay well. God's peace be with you all.